Hi, babe. I'm back from that stream, So, listen. You see this blood? Then her face is good. The one we're doing. What is his voice? Okay. So this video is made by Azul. Okay. Yeah. Azul. So I have no credit except for the video I'm doing right now. So we'll just have to wait for a minute, okay? Yes, listen. Listen.
I have always been hiding in your shadow. I am remade, but not by you, by the one you should not have killed.
No! Now guess what? Now we have to figure out who the person we apparently killed. And yeah, this is gonna be so annoying, isn't it? But anyways, so we have to figure out who we apparently killed. Okay, so I'm gonna show y'all a video, okay? I swear, the video that I'm about to show y'all is not mine at all, okay? Okay? All credit goes to the person who created it. Okay. Hold on, I was just being... Okay. Okay. Andiematronic, okay, is the respectful owner of this video, okay? I'm not claiming to have her game, to have her video at all. I'm just using it to help me with this goddamn theory that Scott Coffee cannot leave alone, okay? I'm just gonna twist some of what she says, okay?
Thanks, Sister Location. You just made my job so much harder.
Thanks, fnaf 6. You made it even harder.
Is Ennard like the walking incarnation of how tangled the FNAF storyline is? Because seriously, this is pretty much what the timeline looks like to everyone. Just a big, fat nope. But that's why I'm here. I've been working very hard to try and untangle this story so we can all start to understand it. Now, I'm not claiming to have solved
And I will too, okay, babe? I will work as hard as I can to help her resituate her theory, and yeah.
Math. Even in a lifetime, I don't think I could claim something like that. But at one point in time, Scott did say all the questions we have about these games can be answered. And in this series, I will be answering all of those questions you've been asking, alongside a complete timeline.
So this is her video entirely. Okay, I'm just gonna like twist some of it, okay? To help her. And see, and then figure out what Nightmare Faye is meaning.
warning, all the years that are mentioned in this theory are estimates and could be slightly off. Without any further ado, let's jump right into the timeline, where it all began, Fredbear's Family Diner, in 1975. We still don't know much about Fredbear's. In fact, this is the only little bit of it we get to see. On the stage stands two golden animatronics, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. From what we know, golden animatronics are used as suits for employees to entertain with. They also double as animatronics that don't require a human to operate. In FNAF 3, we see someone entering a golden suit, along with FNAF 4. Inside of the Spring Bonnie animatronic is a man named William Afton. William is one of the main characters of Five Nights at Freddy's. He's a brilliant man when it comes to robotics. In fact, it's likely William is the inventor of these spring-lock suits, since he owns Afton Robotics, and probably runs it himself. The job was great for supporting his small family, which included his wife and his son Michael, who was around the age of 5. Michael was the black sheep of the family, though. The TV show you watch at the end of every night in Sister Location is an analogy to William's real
Ignore me in the background.
family situation. Him and his wife got into a huge fight when William claimed that his wife actually had an illegitimate child. It's very likely this is not the case at all, since later on Michael is confused to be his father, so their appearances must be similar. Exactly like how the TV show makes it obvious to the audience that the baby is his.
Clara, I tell you, the baby isn't mine.
Count, I tell you that it is. You're the only vampire I've ever loved. And the baby turns his bottles into powdered milk.
That doesn't mean anything.
He sleeps on the ceiling fan.
Upright or upside down?
What does it matter? You need to be part of your son's life.
Despite that, William is very angry with his wife. They end up staying together though, but Michael was treated poorly by his dad, like an outcast. He was given his mother's last name, not his father's, which was Schmidt. At William's new job, a child goes missing, as shown in this minigame. Although we have no real proof that William is the kidnapper, his future track record makes it very likely he is the kidnapper. Not only a kidnapper, but a murderer, as we can see the spirit of that missing child still stuck at that location, restless. This is most likely the reason why this restaurant was shut down. Somewhere around 1977, a new restaurant was opened by Fazbear Entertainment, the same company that once owned Fredbear's. With the new start, this restaurant began getting popular and was very successful. Spring Bonnie never made the cut and was left at the empty and abandoned Fredbear's Family Diner. This is because the suit was tied to the previous kidnapping, and Fazbear Entertainment no longer wanted to be associated with that one bit. They didn't catch William, but they did know which suit was used. William was still a very important part of the company, since he was the mechanic and the inventor. During the opening of this restaurant, Fazbear Entertainment hired another character most of us know as Phone Guy. He worked as a security guard, something they needed in the last failed business. During this prosperous time, William's wife had 2 more children, a girl and a boy. William loved his kids and tried his best to protect them. They grew up going to Freddy's quite regularly and loved the characters there. The characters at this establishment include Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Fredbear, and the puppet. In the mini-games of this location, we can see a pink figure, which we know to be William Afton. But then, there's the question as to why is William pink? This explanation will sound crazy, but later events we'll see in the timeline will back this up. William, being the brilliant man he is with robotics, was able to discover a way to make himself immortal through the use of his inventions. A downside to this is that it caused skin to rot over time. William kidnaps children and uses them for his work, in ways we still aren't really sure of entirely. We'll be going into that a bit more in the future, but we do know for a fact that these kids end up dead. The first few kids that disappear in Freddy's are a group of 5 children seen in this minigame. One minute the kids are there, the next, they're gone. And Pink Guy is on the scene. He had hid their bodies inside of the animatronics. All that's left is the wandering spirits. Not long after, William takes another victim, this time outside the restaurant, possibly hiding the body in his trunk. But William is caught by his own wife. She sees this one occur, or finds out about it. She becomes furious and possibly confronts him about it. In the end, she doesn't make it out alive. It's likely William felt he had no choice but to silence her and hide her death from his children. His wife becomes an extremely restless spirit, leaving behind her children and finding out her husband was nothing like she'd thought. She decides to get revenge on her former husband and possesses the puppet.
Okay, now this is the bad part about it. Okay? What the heck? No. So Scott Coffin decided that Puppet needs to be Henry, aka William's business partner. His daughter Charlie, aka Charlotte, but she goes by Charlie, needs to be Puppet. So I'm thinking that his wife is Ballora, and you will see why later in the video. And I will get back into like Henry and stuff like that. Well, after this video, okay?
Who in turn wakes up the spirits inside of the animatronics to also get their revenge against William. Once again, the TV show in Sister Location parallels this in the title. The Restless referring to the wife, and Immortal referring to William, and later on Michael. Not long after the kids were killed, the restaurant was threatened to have the place shut down because of the stench of the animatronics. Before they had to be forcibly closed, Fazbear shut it down themselves, demanding William to fix the animatronics, which was one of his duties. He removed the bodies, but even with them gone, they were still far from perfect. Before Freddy's was closed, William had been working very hard at his more improved Springlock suits that used faceplates. We can't be certain which animatronics were finished at this point, but we do know of one, Spring Chica. After her completion, Fazbear Entertainment agreed to let William Afton open up his own sister location. This sister location...
Lolbit, JJ, Enard, Chica. I'm sorry, but I love Lolbit. Lolbit's like my favorite.
Owned by William, was named Chica's Party World, where Spring Chica took the lead. Along with Spring Chica, it's likely the original Ennard character had a body and was used as a spring suit. And Chica had carried around the golden cupcake, which is seen in FNAF 3. Other characters could have been used here as well, but we can't be sure. It's very likely 5 more children were killed here as well, with one of them becoming restless. The FNAF 3 minigame that shows Chica's Party World has a hidden screen where 5 crying childlike cupcakes sit in shadows. Only one of them moves.
I didn't know that this skin was there. Did anybody else? So, I guess that's cool, right?
This is the restless spirit that cannot pass on. During this time, William opens another location. That or this was a room or area in another location, known as BB's Air Adventure. Here 2 characters were the main entertainment, Balloon Boy and JJ. 4 more children died here, one of them becoming restless and possessing the JJ animatronic. William stored the old characters from Chica's Party World in his underground workshop after it had closed, as well as Balloon Boy and JJ. After Freddy's has closed and Chica's Party World had as well, another sister location is preparing to open by William around 1982. This one was called Circus Baby's
Pizza World. The fine establishment by the Circus Babies.
Pizza World. The new animatronics there included Circus Baby, Valora, Funtime Foxy, and Funtime Freddy. These animatronics...
And Babab, the Minarinas, and Bonbon. And Lolbit, Yendo, and Bonnet. But people forget about them. Okay? Anybody, don't think that Bonbon isn't his own animatronic. Just because he's on Freddy's hand doesn't mean he's not there. Bonbon is an animatronic too.
Animatronics were not spring suits. Those had been retired. These animatronics were extremely advanced, and the public was amazed by them. In the beginning of the Sister Location game, we can hear an interview that William had about his new characters, focusing on Circus Baby, the star of the location.
There's no doubting what you've achieved on a technical level.
Yep.
These are clearly state-of-the-art. There are just certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand. We were hoping that you could shed some light on those. dance. She can sing.
I bet. He says that baby can dance, but if I try to be like pretend to be Circus Baby, when I try to dance, I'd probably fall.
She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream. With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
The interviewer is very interested in some of Baby's and the other characters' strange design choices. As seen in the blueprints later on in the game, we can see what he's talking about. On Funtime Freddy's blueprints, he is listed as having parental tracking, voice...
Okay. Name, Funtime Freddy. Height, 6 feet. Weight, 350 pounds. Proximity sensor. Grappling coordinate. Parental tracking. 360 pivot. Voice mimic luring. And storage tank. The parental tracking is Bonbon, and the 360 pivot is Bonbon too.
Mimic, also stated as luring, and a storage tank. And in the blueprints, we can see what seems to be the shape of a child in the storage tank area. It's very easy to assume that Funtime Freddy was built for the purpose of kidnapping children, by luring them to him when their parents aren't around, and placing them in his storage tank. As for Baby, she works alongside Ballora as a team effort to do the same.
See, why Baby and Ballora tag team is because Baby is the daughter. So, they're gonna go and tag team. And Betty, I'm going outside, okay? Just for a little bit because I'm getting cold. Okay. But yeah, Baby, because Ballora is her mother, Baby and Ballora tag team.
Ballora's purpose is to deter and misdirect, as for the purpose of keeping most children distracted. While Baby has an internal ice cream dispenser that she will use once her room is empty, with only one child inside so there can be no witnesses. Baby admits to us that she counts the people in her room, and we see Baby's ice cream kidnapping in action during this minigame. It's very obvious that these animatronics were built to kidnap. During the grand opening of this new restaurant, William's young daughter finds her way into Baby's room when no one else was there, despite William's warnings for her to stay away.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her? Daddy, you let the other children go see her. Why won't you let me go? Daddy, just once let me go play with her. She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me? Daddy, she can make balloons. Have you seen her make balloons? Oh, Daddy, let me go to her. Daddy isn't watching.
And with that, the incident occurs. Baby will tell us firsthand what happened.
Did you know that I was on stage once? It wasn't for very long, only one day. What a wonderful day, though. I was in a small room with balloons and a few tables. No one sat at the tables, though, but children would run in and out. Some were afraid of me, others enjoyed my songs. Music was always coming from somewhere else. Down the hall. I would always count the children. I'm not sure why. I was always acutely aware of how many there were in the room with me. 2, then 3, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 2, then none. They usually played together in groups of 2 or 3. I was covered in glitter. I smelled like birthday cake. There were 2. Then 3, then 5, then 4. I can do something special. Did you know that? I can make ice cream. Although I only did it once. There were 4, then 3, then 2, then 1.
can everybody visit? I'm sorry. Wait, I have my sister on my mind. I don't know why. But did you notice that before she said this thing about the ice that she can make ice cream? She said 5, 4, and then after she said something about her making ice cream, and she only did it once. She said 3, then 2, then 1. She was literally counting down, and nobody noticed it except for me. That's why I'm so smart.
Something happened when there was one.
It was.
A little girl standing by herself.
Yep.
I was no longer myself, and I stopped singing. My stomach opened, and there was ice cream. I couldn't move, at least not until she stepped closer. There was screaming for a moment, but only for a moment. Then other children rushed in again, but they couldn't hear her over the sounds of their own excitement. I still hear her sometimes. Why did that happen?
Since Baby only ever kidnapped one child, we can assume that this cutscene is the exact kidnapping.
It was.
And this is William's daughter. Since Baby does not have a storage tank like
Nope. Hold on. I'll show you.
Baby only ever kidnapped one child, we can assume that this cutscene is the exact kidnapping. And this is William's daughter. Since
You know how Baby is 7'2"? This is how tall each animatronic is. Funtime Foxy and Lolbit, since, they're both foxes, so they're going to be the same height, are 5'9". Yendo and Funtime Freddy are 6 feet. Ballora is 6'2", and Baby, the star of the attraction and the tallest animatronic out there, is 7'2". Okay, just keep that in mind, everybody. And remember, this is my theory about the fun times. Okay, that's why I let y'all know about this before I forget about it. You know how how each of the Funtime Bonbon, okay. Well, Bonbon is a Funtime because he's on a Funtime's hand, so he technically is a Funtime. So Bonbon has a counterpart called Bonnet. Okay, and Freddy has a counterpart named Yendo, who just doesn't have a suit. And imagine if Yendo had Bonbon or Bonnet on his hand, and then Funtime Foxy in Lolbit. So, and then they placed Funtime Faye and Yendo on a separate stage, Baby on a separate stage, Blur on a separate stage, and then Funtime Foxy and Lolbit on a separate stage. And Funtime Freddy, Bonbon, and Funtime Foxy are boys, while Bonnet, Yendo, and Lolbit are girls. So that we can do, so whatever gender puppet is, we can do Fangle, Foxbit, Foxy and Mangle, Lolbit, and Funtime Foxy. Sounds like a good plan. Nightmare and Baby. Something creative for Puppet times Blur. I haven't thought of it. And others that I will list later on after this video.
Baby does not have a storage tank like Funtime Freddy. It's likely that any child kidnapped by Baby is crushed and killed.
Yep.
Once William found out what had happened to his daughter, he immediately faked a gas leak to make everyone evacuate the building. Here's an article found on Scott's website when teasing the game. In other news, the grand opening of Circus Baby's Pizza World has apparently been cancelled due to the reported gas leaks in the building. Sources close to the establishment question the report, saying that strange activity around the area at night suggests something else is to blame. One local is quoted as saying, "Everything just stopped." There was so much excitement built around the place opening, and then they just stopped talking about it. There was only a handful of people that ever got a look at the inside. Kids from here and there, making sure everything worked right, you know? I guess they weren't quite as ready as they thought they were. A tenant from across the street claims to have witnessed a large group of cars surrounding the building during the night, and large pieces of equipment being taken out of the building under tarps. A few weeks later, the building was for sale.
And everybody can guess what was under those tarps. The animatronics. I actually asked my sister what she thought was under the tarps, and she couldn't guess that there were animatronics under the tarps. And I had to tell her myself. I told her that she was an idiot. That it's obvious.
There is no comment yet from the local entrepreneur who financed the venture. From this, we could see that William completely quit on this new restaurant after the death of his child. He removed everything into the underground facility, which became Circus Baby's entertainment and rental. From there...
Okay. See the breaker room? So nobody knows what the map of Circus Baby's Pizza World looked like, okay? But I'm guessing that Funtime Foxy, a little bit had their own stage. But Laura and her minarinas. Wait. That would mean that everybody has at least one other thing in their gallery. Because Laura has her minarinas, Baby has her Bitty Baths, Funtime Foxy has Lolbit, and Funtime Faye has Funtime Yendo. So I'm going to call Funtime Yendo now.
The animatronics from Circus Babies were
And Bonbon had Bonnet.
rented out for birthday parties. During this time, William began his next venture with animatronics that wouldn't do the kidnapping. Instead, he made human-operable animatronics like before, spring-lock suits. He opened another sister location for Fazbear Entertainment in 1983, this one being quite small and near his home in the underground facility. It's unknown what this restaurant was called. It housed only 2 full-time animatronics, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. This was just a small business. William had a lot of other work going on as well. During this same time as William's new restaurant, Fazbear Entertainment had prepared a new Freddy Fazbear's restaurant. They returned with the classic animatronics: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Fredbear. Fazbear Entertainment even made a new cartoon called Fredbear and Friends. This crew didn't last too long, though. Soon it became apparent that Foxy was far too scary and...
He is not. Foxy's not scary or dangerous. He's the best pirate out there. When it comes to my favorite animatronics, my favorite animatronics are Baby. Well, maybe a little bit more than Baby. Well, a little bit, Baby, then Foxy, and then others. The Spin Trap being last.
For the children. So a new character was made, named Funtime Foxy, based off of the Funtime Foxy
Play Foxy.
character that could be rented. Along with Funtime Foxy, Balloon Boy and the Puppet were added from the older locations. We know that this location was open and only included these characters by looking at the children's drawings in FNAF 2. The papers all say, "My day is the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza." These drawings do not contain the toy animatronics or Foxy.
Yeah.
They only include Funtime Foxy being taken apart, the Puppet, Balloon Boy, pre-withered Chica, Freddy, Bonnie, and Fredbear. This tells us that the pre-withered animatronics were in a new location, along with 3 other characters. William began working to make the old animatronics more advanced, but his work was halted when the restaurant was threatened again with a shutdown over sanitation, as seen in this newspaper. Local pizzeria, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, has been threatened again with the shutdown by the health department over reports of foul odor coming from the much-loved animal mascots. Police were contacted when parents reportedly noticed what appeared to be blood and mucus around the eyes and the mouths of the mascots. One of the parents likened them to reanimated corpses. After that, it was decided that those animatronics were basically unusable and were placed in the back room. Since those characters could no longer be used, they got new Springlock characters from William that matched the ones at his sister location, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. They also had Funtime Foxy, who was already known as the Mangle, the Puppet, and Balloon Boy. This is the first
Poor Mangle.
known location where training tapes were made, 2 of which can be heard in FNAF 3.
Hello? Welcome here.
No, we'll just listen to this whole video, okay? Because I really don't want to listen to phone guy being annoying versus talking, but whatever.
His career as a performer/entertainer for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. These tapes will provide you with much-needed information on how to handle/climb into/climb out of mascot costumes. Right now, we have 2 specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit. So please pay close attention while learning how to operate these suits, as accidents/injury/death/irreparable and grotesque maiming can occur. First, we will discuss how to operate the mascots when they are in animatronic form. For ease of operation, the animatronics are set to turn and walk towards sound cues. This is an easy and hands-free approach to making sure the animatronics stay where the children are for maximum entertainment/crowd-pleasing value. To change the animatronics to suit mode, insert and turn firmly the hand crank provided by the manufacturer. Turning the crank will recoil and compress the animatronic part around the sides of the suit, providing room to climb inside. Please make sure the spring locks are fastened tight to ensure the animatronic devices remain fixed. We will cover this in more detail in tomorrow's session. Remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. For today's lesson, we will be continuing our training on proper suit handling techniques. When using an animatronic as a suit, please ensure that the animatronic parts are tightly compressed and fastened by the spring lock located around the inside of the suit. It may take a few moments to position your head and torso between these parts in a manner where you can move and speak. Try not to nudge or press against any of the spring locks inside the suit. Do not touch the spring locks at any time. Do not breathe on the spring locks, as moisture may loosen them and cause them to break loose. In case that the spring locks come loose while you are wearing a suit, please try to maneuver away from populated areas before bleeding out, as to not ruin the customer experience. As always,
Who is excited to be here at YouTube?
But while this ad is going, I'm gonna use it to tell you something, okay? So my theory is that at the time, like before when the Circus Pizza World opened, Lolbit, Yendo, and Bonnet were a work in progress. That's why they're never seen on stage. And Yendo, he only has his endoskeleton. And Bonnet isn't attached to Yendo yet. He's still a work in progress. And that's why a little bit only it appears like as a face or something. She was a work in progress. Or I mean she for Yendo, sorry. Now I'm getting confused about the genders. But yeah. So then when his daughter died, he halted all work on them. And was like, you know what, screw this shit. Sorry for my cursing. But he said, screw this, I am not going to be working on them. I'm not going to use these animatronics unless it's for entertainment and rental. So technically, poor Funtime Foxy and only poor Funtime Foxy is left alone in his auditorium. Because Funtime Freddy has Bonbon. Poor Funtime Foxy, left alone in the dark without being able to say anything.
On stage!
if there is ever an emergency, please go to the designated safe room. Every location is built with one extra room that is not included in the digital map layouts programmed in the animatronics or security systems. This room is hidden to customers, invisible to animatronics, and is always off camera. As always, remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Back at William's sister location, things for his young son are getting much worse. After the horrific death of his young daughter, William tried his best to protect his last beloved child. William may be a murderer, but his son and daughter were very important to him. He loved them, He didn't want to lose his son to his creations like his daughter, so he taught him that the animatronics are something to be feared.
Yeah.
He set up 2 of his above-ground buildings to teach his son how to keep the animatronics away. Learning to use the animatronics' weakness of flashes of light, learning survival skills against them, even though these were merely hallucinations and harmless robotics made to look terrifying. The nightmares are most likely not exactly what we see them as in FNAF 4. Remember what Scott told us? What is seen in the shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. The hallucinations of flowers and the IV are most likely him remembering what it was like to lose his sister. Horrifying reminders that if he wasn't careful, the animatronics could do that to him too. The hallucinations were most likely induced by the gas in these tanks found in the underground area nearby. In the private room and sister location, we can also see the kid's bedroom in the hallway in these monitors, where William was probably controlling the simulations. We also see the Fredbear plush that would talk to the kid throughout FNAF 4. William would talk through it to his son, to make him do what he wants, think what he wants, and sometimes be comforted. Here, William is talking through Fredbear to his son, telling him to leave the restaurant immediately. Notice how he says, "Remember what you saw?" It's possible he's referring to his sister's death, or even something else entirely. The home we see the child in during the minigames is his actual home, right beside his dad's new restaurant. In this home, we can see his sister's old bedroom as well. Then there's his so-called older brother, who is...
Her theory is gonna make a lot of sense for the kids. Okay?
most likely supposed to represent Mike or Michael, but actually isn't. In fact, he's not even a real person. Remember how earlier I told you how William was able to make himself immortal through the robotics? There's also something else William can do with them as well. He can insert the robotics into a human body, as if he was going to immortalize them like he did himself, but he can make it so the robot AI takes complete control. In other words, he can control human bodies with his robotics. That is what this phony Michael is. It's just another Fredbear plush, a puppet that William controls. The purpose of this controlled older brother is to make the little boy grow to hate and fear Mike. As we all know, William doesn't care for his oldest son at all. The reason he wears the Foxy mask the entire time is that the little boy would surely realize this person wasn't his brother once he sees his face. Plus, it adds to the fear of animatronics. Sounds far-fetched, right? Well, listen to this.
It actually makes a lot of sense.
Take a look at this image. Early on in the minigames, we can see that Mike has paler skin and black eyes, but later on it darkens and his eyes turn white. We've seen this type of change before, from William being pink with dark eyes to later being purple with white ones. And the sister location cutscene, showing that over time the body changes to dark purple and the eyes turn white. These all occur because of the robotics inside of the body. This proves that this kid is not human, which brings us to these other 3 children, who are all not human as well, hiding in plain sight under their masks. Children that William kidnapped and turned into his puppets. William planned for his son's birthday to be the worst day of his life, bullied all day by these masked puppets. But something went wrong. Very wrong.
Yep.
William didn't plan for this day to be his son's last day of his life. The robot children went too far in order to scare the child. William had accidentally killed both of his beloved children with his dangerous and unstable creations.
Yep.
Now you may be wondering, why wasn't William monitoring this and realizing the danger? He should have been able to save his son. I think this portion of a phone call can explain for us.
After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures...
Hear that? Multiple. In other words, another failure was happening at this time. I think it's most likely that this day, since we never seen a Fredbear entertainer out, he was probably getting suited up. with William helping him into it, just like we had seen before. William was preoccupied when his son was chomped. When the incident occurred and William was drawn out into the commotion, he made a plan. Covering his tracks once again, William decided he would blame the animatronic for his son's death, putting the blame into the fact that the suit was a spring-lock suit. Going back into the room alone with the entertainer, William set off the spring locks and killed the man, making it seem like spring-lock suits are to blame for everything that happened that day. After the child had passed, we get a glimpse of what had happened to him. He hears his mother's voice saying, "I will put you back together." In other words, the child's spirit does not pass on and becomes the entity known as Shadow Freddy.
Her theory will actually makes a lot of sense. Because, Shadow Freddy is harmless. Well, you'll hear.
A character only rarely seen sometimes in FNAF 2, sitting in the back room, alone and scared. He's one of the only characters in the game that does not harm the security guard. After the Springlock incidents at William's sister location, it closed its doors for good. William began focusing his work back at Freddy's, no longer interested in pursuing locations of his own. Freddy's immediately made a new training tape for the employees, covering the new changes.
Hello. There's been a slight change of company policy concerning use of the suit. Don't. After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company has deemed the suit temporarily unfit for employees. Safety is top priority at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is why the classic suits are being retired.
Sorry, but the company was being dumb. Know how he said that the animatronics were in animatronic mode? That means all the spring locks are not tied together in the back of the suit and stuff. That means they are out. The company was being dumb because if the spring locks aren't being held back by anything that something could trigger them, that means that the spring locks didn't fail, because they can't, because it's always in suit mode. So the company was being dumb, and William got away because the company was being dumb.
To an appropriate location while being looked at by our technicians. Until replacements arrive, you'll be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected. I repeat, the classic suits are not to be touched, activated, or worn. That being said, we are free of liability. Do as you wish. As always, remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
For the time being, the location only used temporary suits, along with Mangle, the Puppet, and Balloon Boy. A few years after the Springlock suits were put aside, William begins stirring up trouble at Freddy's.
Again.
Hello? This is just a reminder of company policy concerning the safe room. The safe room is reserved for equipment and/or other property not being currently used and as a backup safety location for employees only. This is not a break room, should not be considered a place for employees to hide and/or congregate. And under no circumstance should a customer ever be taken into this room and out of the main show area. Management has also been made aware that the Spring Bonnie animatronic has been noticeably moved. I would like to remind employees that this costume is not safe to wear under any circumstance. Thank you, and remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Now that William is working for a restaurant rather than running it, he isn't allowed to do whatever he wants, and is being called out for it. Here is my explanation as to why this training tape was made. It's likely an employee of Freddy's seen another employee, William, who was most likely working at the restaurant at the time, repairing the spring suits and helping with costume changes, taking a child into the safe room. William was wearing the retired Spring Bonnie suit in order to lure the child away. Before William had the chance to do anything incriminating, he was caught, and management was told that an employee was bringing someone into the safe room. Upon investigating this, management could see that Spring Bonnie had been worn. Out of frustration and anger toward that tattletale employee, William seeks his revenge against him.
Yep.
He convinces that employee to follow him inside the safe room. There, he stabs the man, or renders him helpless, and shoves him into the Spring Bonnie suit, setting it off with him inside. As we all know, there are no cameras in the safe room, so it was an easy place.
Oh, wait. I have a new nickname for Springtrap, okay? The ugly one. It's a name that only I use and my sister, but if y'all want to use it, I don't really care.
To get away with something like this. The next call helps us understand what happened soon after.
Hello. This is just to inform all employees that due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations, including this one. Work crews will be here most of the day today, constructing a full wall over the old door face. Nothing is being taken out beforehand, so if you left anything inside, then it's your own fault. Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives. Thanks again, and remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
As soon as management hears about a body being found in the suit in the back room, they make a plan. A plan to hide the body away. Instead of shutting down the restaurant, contacting the police, and allowing investigations to begin, they decide to hide it entirely. They didn't want any more bad media, any more closed restaurants, any more mistrust in their beloved characters. It's likely they believed that this was an accident, another Springlock failure. It was easier for them to just pretend they didn't know the incident occurred. And since the safe room was built without cameras, it was becoming more of a danger to have them left open. So they sealed the room, with Spring Bonnie, Spring Fredbear, and the body still inside, unwittingly helping a murderer get away with the crime. The old Fredbear spring suit was still kept in the back room, since that one never really seemed to have issues. Something they would later regret. This incident is what brought the mysterious Shadow Bonnie to life. A character only rarely seen in FNAF 2. When he appears, he crashes your game.
Only if you stare at him for too long.
After this, Fazbear Entertainment no longer associated itself with Afton Robotics, and a different and unknown company took over the care and production of animatronics. Since William was out of job, he took a normal one at Freddy's. Around early 1987, or late 1986, Freddy's was preparing for a big reopening with new characters, as the new production company had finished a new line of animatronics, the toy animatronics. These characters were a mix of various previous characters that Fazbear Entertainment owned, almost entirely built off of old designs. Toy Chica was based off of Spring Chica, so her beak was removable. These animatronics...
I have to go, guys. Be right back.
There's ginger food.
I'm back. I just had to get rid of my dad so I keep recording him, not bother y'all.
Were complete with facial recognition systems that could draw in more parents and also scare away potential threats. These new characters were a great selling point for the company. They drew in the numbers they needed once again. During the summer of 1987, Phone Guy began making training tapes for the night shift security guards.
Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I'm here to talk you through some of the things you can expect to see during your first week here and to help you get started down this new and exciting career path. Now, I want you to forget anything you may have heard about the old locations, you know. Some people still have a somewhat negative impression of the company. That old restaurant was kind of left to rot for quite a while, but I want to reassure you, Fazbear Entertainment is committed to family fun and above all, safety.
The location that Phone Guy is referring to is the first Freddy's, where 6 kids were killed.
Lies about, they're committed to safety.
And 5 of them stuffed into suits. After that had happened, the building was left to rot, till about 2 or 3 years later when the classic animatronics were moved to the new location to be used again, to no avail.
They've spent a small fortune on these new animatronics. Facial recognition, advanced mobility, they even let them walk around during the day. Isn't that neat? But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database so they can detect a predator a mile away. Heck, we should be paying them to guard you.
No, you shouldn't because they don't use money.
Now that being said, no new system is without its kinks. You're only the second guard to work at that location. The first guy finished his week but complained about conditions. We switched him over to the day shift. So, hey, lucky you, right?
Here, Phone Guy tells us that another has worked there before the one listening now. That employee was undoubtedly William, and he actually had it easy compared to the nights we play in FNAF 2. At that point of time, only half of the animatronics were actually haunted, the withered animatronics and the puppet. And along with that, there was also the restless Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy. It's likely since William was the one working the night shift, it disturbed all the spirits and created chaos.
Mainly he expressed concern that certain characters seemed to move around at night and even attempted to get into his office. Now, from what we know, that should be impossible. That restaurant should be the safest place on Earth. So while our engineers don't really have an explanation for this, the working theory is that the robots were never given a proper night mode. So when it gets quiet, they think they're in the wrong room. So then they go try to find where the people are, and in this case, that's your office. So our temporary solution is this. There's a music box over by the prize counter, and it's rigged to be wound up remotely. So just every once in a while, switch over to the prize counter video feed and wind it up for a few seconds. It doesn't seem to affect all of the animatronics, but it does affect one of them.
One funny characteristic about Phone Guy is how he continuously denies any supernatural activities, and always chalks his strange behaviors up to glitches. He's a very realistic kind of guy, which is why the puppet bothers him so much. He knows that it shouldn't be possible that the puppet can leave the prize corner and enter the office, since the puppet is not an animatronic and should only be able to move with his strings. It defies his logic, and thus disturbs him. Bringing up the puppet, let's discuss why she acts the way she does. And yes, I am referring to her as in William's wife. After she was
not William's wife, Henry's daughter.
Killed, she possessed the puppet and became like a mother to the other wandering spirits. Why exactly does this tune keep her at bay? It's been a question we've all wanted answered for so long, and now it's obvious. It's possible this sweet little tune reminds her of her two beloved newborn babies, only months before her husband murdered her. It was a peaceful and prosperous time in her life. She didn't know her husband was a killer, and she didn't know her two children would die. It's quite sad.
And as for the rest of them, we have an even easier solution. You see, there may be a minor glitch in the system, something about robots seeing you as an endoskeleton without a costume on, and wanting to stuff you into a suit. So hey, we've given you an empty Freddy Fazbear head. Problem solved. You can put it on any time and leave it on for as long as you want. Eventually, anything that wandered in will wander back out. Something else worth mentioning is kind of the quirky modern design of the building. You may have noticed there are no doors for you to close.
Because why would a pizzeria, well, a security office need doors, right? Probably, yeah, you don't need doors for safety, right? You do.
But hey, you have a light, and even though your flashlight can run out of power, the building cannot. So don't worry about the place going dark. Well, I think that's it. You should be golden. Check the lights, put on the Freddy head if you need to. Keep the music box wound up. Piece of cake. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hello? See, I told you your first night wouldn't be a problem. You're a natural. By now, I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room. Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now. The idea at first was to repair them. They even started retrofitting them with some of the newer technology. The thing was just so ugly, you know? And the smell. So the company decided to just go in a whole new direction, and make them super kid-friendly.
As you can see here, Phone Guy does vaguely mention that the location was open before, but problems arose and it didn't last.
Those older ones shouldn't be able to walk around, but if they do, the whole Freddy head trick should work on them too, so whatever. I love those old characters. Did you ever see Foxy the Pirate? Oh wait, Foxy. Oh yeah, Foxy. Hey listen, that one was always a bit twitchy.
He always will be twitchy.
I'm not sure if the Freddy head trick will work on Foxy. If for some reason he activates during the night, and you see him standing at the far end of the hall, just flash your light at him from time to time. Those older models would always get disoriented with bright light. It would cause a system restart or something. Come to think of it, you might want to try that on any room where something undesirable might be. It might hold him in place for a few seconds. That glitch might have carried over to the newer models too. One more thing, don't forget the music box. I'll be honest, I never liked that puppet thing. It's always thinking, and it can go anywhere. I don't think the Freddy mask will fool it, so just don't forget the music box. Anyway, I'm sure it won't be a problem. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hello? See, I told you you wouldn't have any problems. Did Foxy ever appear in the hallway? Probably not. I was just curious. Like I said, he was always my favorite.
I have him right here.
They tried to remake Foxy, you know? They thought the first one was too scary, so they redesigned him to be more kid-friendly instead of in Kids Cove. To keep the toddlers entertained, you know. But kids these days just can't keep their hands to themselves. The staff literally had to put Foxy back together at the end of every shift. So eventually they just stopped trying and left him as some kind of take-apart, put-back-together attraction. Now he's just a mess of parts. I think the employees refer to him as just the mangle. Oh hey, before I go, I wanted to ease your mind about any rumors you might have heard lately. You know how these local stories come and go and seldom mean anything. I can personally assure you that whatever is going on out there, however tragic it may be, has nothing to do with our establishment. It's just all rumor and speculation, people trying to make a buck, you know. Our guard during the day has reported nothing unusual, and he's on watch from opening till close. Okay, well anyway, hang in there and I'll talk with you tomorrow.
Really?
Now Phone Guy tells us of some rumors going around. Tragic ones at that. Phone Guy tries to redirect it by saying it has nothing to do with Freddy's and may not even be true. He also adds that the day shift guard hasn't reported anything unusual, just another reason to be suspicious of him.
Hello? Hey there, Night 4. I told you you'd get the hang of it. Okay, so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on. We may end up having to close for a few...
Okay, I'm gonna go charge my phone and then I'll get back to y'all later, okay? Or never mind.
days, I don't know. I want to emphasize, though, that it's really just a precaution.
And if my phone dies, everybody, after I charge my phone back up, if it dies, I'm going to pause this video and then continue on where we left off, okay?
Fazbear Entertainment denies any wrongdoing. These things happen sometimes. It'll all get sorted out in a few days. Just keep an eye on things and I'll keep you posted.
Now we hear that the rumors have grown into an investigation, and it may cause the location to shut down for a short while. Once again, he reminds us that it has nothing to do with the company and is nothing too serious. Although we know better.
Yep.
Just as a side note, though, try to avoid eye contact with any of the animatronics side if you can. Someone may have tampered with their facial recognition systems. We're not sure. But the characters have been acting very unusual, almost aggressive towards the staff. They interact with the kids just fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stare. Anyway, hang tight, it'll all pass. Good night.
What Phone Guy says here makes it obvious. Some of the toy animatronics are now haunted.
Oh, hey, good job, Night 5. Hey, keep a close eye on things.
Okay, this is what I don't get about Night 5. It says that the building is on lockdown and no one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees. So why is everybody here? So why isn't anybody in the office with you? You know? Because there's other people in the building that should be in the office with you so that you can protect them from the goddamn animatronics. That's the one thing I don't get about Night 5.
Tonight, okay? From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available. We don't have a replacement for your shift yet, but we're working on it. We're going to try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that. It was closed for years, though. I doubt we'll be able to track anybody down. So just get through one more night. Hang in there. Good night.
Now we find out that the building is on lockdown.
Here is the procedures. Lockdown is procedure used when there's an immediate threat to the building occupants. In the event of a lockdown, students, faculty, and staff should be instructed to secure themselves in the room they're in and not leave until a situation has been curtailed. So where are they? This allows emergency responders to secure the students and staff in place, address the immediate threat, and remove any innocent bystanders from immediate danger to an area of safe refuge. Procedures. Stay in your room or office and barricade the door. Remain quiet. Do not attempt to leave the building or room. Wait until emergency personnel will give you an all clear. So where is everybody on the cameras? Are they in the safe room? Because that door was sealed off. Are they in the bathrooms? But that can't be because Mingle goes into the bathrooms. You know? So where the heck is everybody? And the old models move so they can't be in the back room. Mangle's in Pirate's Cove. Puppet is in the prize corner. The toys are in like the main show area. Balloon Boy is in the game area. So yeah, and everybody goes into rooms. So where the heck is everybody?
This is a very telling part of the phone calls. We hear that the day shift guard is no longer working there, and it was very suspected
I can put the link in the description.
that he was the one that killed the kids. Notice how he mentions wanting to contact the original owner of Fredbear's. It's a pretty strange thing to say out of the blue, but it's possible that they know the original owner had a run-in with missing children as well, so they may be looking into the company's history to track down the employee present for all of the kidnappings. If this is the case, William is in big trouble.
Yep.
Hello? What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
It sounds like he's about to cry.
Listen, just finish your shift. It's safer than trying to leave in the middle of the night. We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform. Stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay? For now, just make it through the night. When the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take the night shift myself.
Notice how Phone Guy says A spare in the back. This makes it evident that Spring Bonnie and Spring Fredbear are no longer part of the picture, since they were sealed away already. The only yellow suit that was left was the old Fredbear. At this point, even Phone Guy has the details of the crime, so word is spreading like wildfire. William has been arrested under the suspicion of kidnappings, despite the fact that the bodies haven't been discovered.
Yep.
Now let's discuss what really happened during this time. We know that during the murders, William was a day shift guard, so he had the office all to himself, and he also most likely had to work up until the night shift guard came in at midnight. This was after hours, so he'd be there all alone. One could also make the argument that the day shift guard's hours end at closing, but that would still leave a gap of time of when William could be there alone before midnight. Realistically, a restaurant like Freddy's would close around 10 p.m. at the latest. During this gap of time, William can get away with just about anything. Near the end of the operating hours at Freddy's, William dressed in the Fredbear suit so he would be harder to identify, and was able to lure kids away. He didn't have the chance to use the safe room this time, since it was already sealed off. Instead, he most likely took them to the office we see in FNAF 2, since there aren't any cameras inside. The two newspapers about this incident and Phone Guy's calls paint a very clear picture about how things went down here. William used the same technique for each murder, but they did not all occur at the same time. This is because the newspaper states that he was arrested the next morning, but the phone calls begin with rumors that grow over time and become an investigation. How does that work? So I'll try and piece this together for you. The first time Phone Guy mentions rumors is during night 3.
Okay, so this is what she thinks. So, the 24th, the first child is Mangle. The rumors in the call is Chica, then Bonnie. The investigation, Freddy and Balloon Boy, and then William was arrested in the lockdown.
Meaning that the latest William could have done something was during the evening of night 2, being June 24th, 1987. During this time, it's likely William murdered one child. This causes Mangle to become possessed. The next day, Mangle was most likely acting a bit different and was on Phone Guy's mind, because he does mention her in the night 3 call, along with the rumors.
Yep.
The evening of June 25th, 2 more kids were killed who possessed 2 of the toys.
Chica and Bonnie?
The call the next day talks about an investigation going on, and also notes that the toys have been acting very unusual and even aggressive. On the evening of June 26th, 2 more children were killed, and William is caught on camera. The next morning, he was arrested. This perfectly lines up the calls and the newspapers.
Yep.
Sometimes after you die in FNAF 2, you'll be given this minigame to play. Notice how this was the location we were just talking about, and yet all of the bodies are present at the same time. This is not literal. Just like most minigames, those figures are not bodies, they're actually spirits. This also tells us that this is the night or evening of June 26th, since all 5 are present. In this game, you play as a spirit possessing withered Freddy, hearing the words, "Save them" and "Save him" spelled out, as the puppet leads you around. Freddy is attempting to stop William. In most cases, he does not find him, but very rarely he will, who in turn easily shuts him down, most likely using the crank or tool he's holding. Now let's take a quick look at the 2 newspapers talking about this incident. Kids vanish at local pizzeria. Bodies are not found. 2 local children were reportedly lured into a back room during the late hours of operation at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza on the night of June 26th. While video surveillance identified the man responsible and led to his capture the following morning, the children themselves were never found and are presumed dead. Police think that the suspect dressed as a mascot to earn the children's trust. 5 children now reported missing. Suspect convicted. 5 children are now linked to the incident at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where a man dressed as a cartoon mascot lured them into the back room. While the suspect has been charged, the bodies themselves were never found. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has been fighting an uphill battle ever since to convince families to return to the pizzeria. It's a tragedy. As the newspaper states, the man has been convicted. Being convicted of a crime is to find that person.
Okay, conviction. 1. A formal declaration that someone is guilty of a criminal offense made by a verdict of a jury or decision of a judge in a court of law. She had a previous conviction for a similar offense. Synonyms: declaration of guilt, sentence, judgment. His conviction for murder, and it's a noun. And the last one, his conviction for murder, is Williams.
Guilty in a court of law. In other words, William is in prison. No, he didn't get away because the bodies weren't found. If that were the case, then the newspaper would have never said he was convicted. They would have only said that he was charged. William is in prison, and he's not going to get out. Not unless he breaks out. And this marks the last of William's murderous rampage. A few months later, in 1987, the location opens again after the murders, fighting the uphill battle as the newspaper stated. Phone Guy takes the night shift, as he said he would. Soon after, Jeremy Fitzgerald takes over and fills the position. This is the character we play as when we play in FNAF 2, Jeremy somehow ends up listening to the previous tapes to learn about his job. And
the thing with Toy Freddy, I had only seen Freddy in my office once, and it scared me so bad. I was still as a rock, but I managed to get the mask down.
Was welcomed into the family after making it through his 6 nights against the haunted animatronics. A few important characters to note here are Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy. Shadow Bonnie is the aggressive one that crashes the game, a spirit of one of William's victims. And the harmless Shadow Freddy is the spirit of William's son. The only time we see him is sitting in the parts and service. Look familiar? Also, JJ can be rarely seen under your desk, unmoving and doesn't harm you. This is the spirit from an earlier location that died at BB's Air Adventure. Another very important part of FNAF 2 are the mysterious paper pals. 3 characters made of plates and paper found hanging on the wall. These 3 characters represent William's 3 children. The one on the far left is William's daughter, a happy little girl wearing pink and blue with buttons. The one in the middle is Michael, the one who suffered unrequited parental love from his father. His skin turned purple when he was taken over, and he was later trapped in a bunny suit. And the one on the far right, William's other son, the one he tried to protect but failed. He was killed by an animatronic bear and took the shadowy form of him. Sometimes in the nights of FNAF 2, the little girl paper plate can move into the office. Was this the puppets doing? Jeremy worked the night shift for 5 nights. At the end of them, he was given a check saying, "Welcome to the family," making it obvious he'd only just started working at Freddy's. Despite how dangerous the job was, Jeremy took the opportunity for overtime for an extra night, though this is not a decision he should have made. Sometime during that night, or possibly in the morning after his shift, Jeremy was bit by an animatronic on the head, causing immense damage. This was known as the bite of 1987. Although there is not a clear culprit, it was one of the new animatronics, as the newspaper states. Most likely being Mangle, who is the...
But it could be Foxy. Because if you look at Foxy's jump scare, Foxy, he actually lunges towards you. So it could be Foxy or Mangle. Or Wizard Chica, because Wizard Chica from the old, fixed Wizard Chica has a very dangerous looking jaw. And she still has a dangerous jaw. So it could be both of the Foxes or Chica. You never know.
Largest, most dangerous looking...
I'm not blaming Bonnie, Toy Bonnie, or Bonnie, Toy Freddy, or Toy Chica. Because Toy Chica, her mouth is small. Well, I'm gonna blame all of the old models and Mangle. Because Toy Bonnie, Toy Freddy, and Toy Chica, their mouths are too small to fit a human head. The older models, except for poor Wizard Bonnie, can fit a human head in her mouth. And Mangle, she has a dangerous jaw. But poor Wizard Bonnie, he can't even fit a person in his jaw. So he's out of the question too.
Jaw. And Mangle never passes on. Jeremy had to go through surgery and have his frontal lobe removed to save his life. After this, the job was left to a new employee named Fritz Smith. Fritz is working his first day according to the pink slip he is given directly after his shift. He's also employee number 3, making Phone Guy 1 and Jeremy 2. Fritz was fired because he tampered with the animatronics and odor. It's likely Fritz was added to the game in order for us players to understand that Jeremy left. Directly after Fritz's night, the restaurant closed down from the bite of 87. This newspaper will tell us a bit more about that. Freddy Fazbear's is closing. After being open for only a few short weeks, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is closing its doors. The new animatronics will be scrapped due to possible malfunctions. However, the original characters are being kept in hopes of a possible reorganization of the company. It's a minor setback. We are confident that we will reopen someday, even if it is with a much smaller budget. CEO, Fazbear Entertainment. When the toy animatronics were taken apart and destroyed, the spirits were able to pass on. All except Mangle. Mangle remained restless. Not long after, Freddy's makes a comeback. The original characters were kept from the last location and refurbished into these characters.
Okay, hold on, look.
Mangle remained restless. Not long after, Freddy's makes a comeback. The original characters were kept.
See? I mean, all the old characters except for Bonnie. See? Faye can fit a human head in his mouth. Their Chica can fit a human head in her mouth. And Foxy can also. But not poor Bonnie.
From the last location and refurbished into these characters. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. The old Fredbear suit was left behind, but its spirit was not. Surprisingly, this location is actually the same location that Fredbear's Family Diner was in. This location still houses the very old, very dangerous Spring Bonnie suit from Fredbear's in the sealed safe room. That'll be mentioned later on. A few years after this location was open, William was sitting in prison. He contacted his son Michael to do something for him. He told his son he needed to go save his younger sister, the girl that was killed inside of Baby. William believes that his daughter's soul may be attached to the baby animatronic, but actually, there is no proof of this idea. William probably started to believe it was a possibility when he found out about the other souls attached to his animatronics. Maybe she'd have a way of coming back. But this idea is actually wrong. The sister location animatronics later believed that William came back for his daughter and used it against him, speaking to who they thought was William with her voice, trying to draw him out of his office, or let them in to steal his skin. Michael agrees to what his father asks and goes to the underground facility. This is when sister location takes place. He enters the elevator and
So Baby, Ballora, and the others are very old animatronics. Just know that.
the automated job training begins. This was created by William, since he was extremely busy and couldn't train employees himself. The game blatantly tells us who we play,
Please enter your name as seen above the keypad.
this being Mike, a nickname for Michael. Of course, since the facility was left behind by William, repairs couldn't be made, though the animatronics are still being rented out by Fazbear Entertainment. Michael's goal is to get in contact with Baby safely and find out what he needs to do to fix her. Baby is an incredibly smart robot
She is. That's why she's the mascot of my channel.
and sees her chance to escape in Michael. Therefore, she protects him and tells him she's on his side.
I don't recognize you. You are new. I remember this scenario. However, it's a strange thing to want to do, to come here. I'm curious what events would lead a person to want to spend their nights in a place like this, willingly. Maybe curiosity, maybe ignorance.
Both.
There is a space under the desk. Someone before you crafted it into a hiding place, and it worked for him. I recommend that you hurry, though. You will be safe there. Just try not to make eye contact. It will be over soon. They will lose interest. When your guide comes back online, he is going to tell you that he was unsuccessful, that you must restart the system manually. He will then tell you to crawl through Ballora Gallery.
I'm gonna stop the recording right now, so that I can charge my phone when my parents get back. Okay, so I might have to stop this video right here. Okay, so we're at 56:05. Okay, I'm gonna write that down, and then when I charge my phone back up, we will go back to it. Okay. Okay. We will get back to it, okay, once my phone is charged. Bye bye.